What's up, current and future disc golf addicts? Today we're going to take a look at the 2024 DSA Match Play Final in Amsterdam. We have our reigning champion Tim playing against a local club guy, Peter. Tim, plenty of experience in this situation, being the reigning champion from last year. Peter, first time on camera, so we'll see how he ends up handling the pressure. Tim leaking a little bit left on his drive. Peter getting plenty of snap on his, but tagging that tree. Hole 1 at Slaughter Park can be daunting with that gap that you want to hit, and still a relatively lengthy hole to where you need some power and accuracy. Especially hard on some of these colder mornings in the winters. As we watch Peter unfortunately miss low on his par putt, and Tim converting his, putting him up 1 in our match play format here. Hole 2, one of the signature holes in Slaughter Park, known for its teeth that it has, especially what we're seeing here with Tim's drive finding that OB left. This leaves Peter in a position to play a lot safer and throw a shorter backhand hyzer shot. Really chip his way up and take one back after that slow start on hole 1. And Tim leaking OB again there. All Peter has to do is get this one really inbounds. And it got a little bit hairy there for a second, but as we see from the second angle, disc half inbounds, so that's ruled as safe, and we simply pick up, back tied, moving on to hole 3, one of the few must-gets. As we're watching the guys put a clinic on, just some simple backhand hyzers, whatever you're comfortable with, and they're doing extremely well in doing so. Tim, a little bit of a tester putt there, but good to get out of the way early on and get some confidence on the putting green. Hole 4, a par 4, where we get to watch the guys open up a little bit and really see what sort of distance they have. Peter putting a little bit too much on this, leaking right, but we'll have to wait and see how far right he got, because there is that second pass off to the right that can give you a sneaky second fairway all the way to the basket, which he actually ended up accessing here. Plenty of guardian trees up at the green as well for the approach. Tim here having a couple of choices, taking on some of the guardian trees instead of this defined forehand hyzer around the left. Peter just leaking his putt right of the basket, as we're hearing Peter instruct him to pick it up and move on. Hole 5 will be interesting to watch. Neither Tim or Peter known for their forehand shots, and this one is all about angle control on the backhand, which Tim has proven time again to be very proficient at. Peter playing a little bit more of a hyzer flip, just fading out a little bit early, and we'll see him take another putt. Really not getting things going as one would hope here in this match play final. Peter finding himself towards the back end of circle 1 frequently now, and wanting to pick things up, especially as Tim is gaining his confidence with this medium distance putt, putting him up 2 through hole 5. Hole 6, one where you're looking to simply get your 3 and move on to hole 7. Plenty of options on how you want to do this. Those bushes around the basket are growing in, meaning that access to the basket is getting harder. As we get to take a look, Peter actually ends up leaking a little more left than Tim did, having a tricky approach. And Tim just jump putting this closer. We get to watch Peter with another putt, inching closer and closer to the basket, but just not quite there, just feeling a little bit off. And Tim taking his time with another chance to go up another point and converting on the awkward straddle putt with those bushes. Hole 7 has grown in a lot more since I would have last shown on video. So here I am standing in the fairway watching these discs pan right towards the basket. No. Really a sky anhyzer with something that you want to land relatively flat, or you could be cut rolling a ways in this mowed grass. Here as we watch Peter's disc come down, this one got a little bit too nose up and ends up traveling a little backwards. This approach leaking right again. There's that OB long that you need to be careful of. And Tim just playing it smart again. He has a guaranteed par, meaning this is a must make now for Peter. And missing that putt. Hole 8, we get to see another test of distance for our guys. Tim pulling that one right, hitting the tree and getting actually really lucky to stay inbounds. That's typically a 50-50 of kicking OB. And this is definitely an opportunity for Peter where he has that distance. And Tim just chipping up here. This can get out of hand if you end up finding that OB long. Shouldn't be too much in play. We see Peter towards the back end of circle 2, trying to give a soft bid to this, but ultimately wanting to keep it close and not bleed any more strokes to Tim here. As we tap out and move on to hole 9. Hole 5, one of the players' favorite holes to play with this elevation that we get really rip on a backhand drive and air it out. Tim playing a little bit conservative there with a pretty much one angle shot, hyzering out to the left, where we see Peter take a little bit of a flippy or distance driver and really push that distance as we see him get around to the corner, which is a good rip and definitely makes that second shot a lot easier. Tim, we're starting to see a little bit of a pattern here with his longer shots leaking right. So that's something he'll want to look at fixing during this round. Still playing plenty fine, but Peter clearly has an opportunity now, pushing for that birdie. As we see Tim's look. Great height on that, but just barely right. So this is Peter's chance to really get one back. Again, that back edge of circle 1, but this time converting on a putt and clawing one back. Now Tim up 3, going into hole 10. A little bit of a test of accuracy here, as we see Peter navigate his way through the trees, landing short left in circle 1. Tim pushing a little bit of a straighter line, really playing that to perfection. A good putt there from Peter, building up that confidence now, moving into the back 9. And Tim with the tap in. Hole 11, a shorter hole, playing still that summer tee with all the long grass. If you want to know how to play this hole, watch what Peter just did. it does not get any better than this. He's leaning basically against the pole. And for the first time we see Peter with the tee, so Tim leaking early left here. And now all of a sudden this is a must make, unless he wants to lose another stroke to Peter. And we just pick up and move on. Tim up 2 after 11. Hole 12, this used to be our famous double-double Mando, but no longer in play. Now it's still the single gap that you want to hit, but Peter accessing this local gap, as we like to call it. A little early out of the hand, but still pushing far enough to where he has a long jumper at it. Tim celebrating actually as he ends up hitting the pole of the basket. And so Peter, not much to lose, tries giving this one a run. And we move on. Hole 13. This hole during the summers is really a poke and pray, as we start to see a little bit of this from our competitors here. Tim looks to have found a tree on the right, kicking left just as Peter does too. And at this point we're chipping up the fairway, trying to make as much progress as we can. It's still a short hole, but the landing spots are very specific, where 1 meter apart one person can have an approach to the basket, and in another, like Peter is here, you're struggling to find your way up, and the strokes can add up real quick on this hole. As we see Tim's par putt, and now we're looking at Peter's bogey. And so Tim up 4, moving into hole 14. This one you really just want to give it that height, have the room to come back left. Hard to track that disc in the sky. And we'll try giving another shot here with Peter's hyzer. If you do have that power to access the pin, you do need to be a little bit careful of that path right next to the basket, but this is a very common spot where you're seeing some step putts, jump putts from this 15-meter range, trying to cash that long putt in for a birdie. But we'll just be watching the guys tap in these short par putts. And Peter is slowly starting to run out of time here. With 4 holes left, Peter is now in a position where he has to win every hole moving forward to push it into some extra holes. With that, Tim always likes this up the gut play, playing a little bit slower of a disc. Peter gets really unfortunate here with that hyzer line. There's one tree you have to challenge in the fairway, and more often than not, if you hit it, you end up kicking OB. And that's exactly what ended up happening to Peter here. So now we're watching Tim lay up for the win. And just a formality now, as we watch the guys hug it out. And a good match, and another year of the DSA Match Play Championship in the books, as we watch our Match Play Wall of Champions. A long-running tradition now, starting back from 2019, as we're just getting started with our 2025 iteration, and Tim being crowned our first regional champion of 2024. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.